Quality of a healthcare center is not just about the physical structure and equipment, but also the quality of personnel. Just like doctors, nurses are equally vital with their care of patients. However, poor working conditions are resulting to loss of interest in the nursing profession and mass exodus of nurses to abroad. This is also culminating to overwhelming workload on the few left behind. How much have the nurses themselves performed to restore the dignity of the profession and positioned it as viable in Nigeria? This will be our focus in the next half hour on the program. I am Joseph Otsen. Nice to have you with us. My guest is a medical practitioner who associates himself with discipline, humility, respect, justice, and fairness. He is a Nigerian registered nurse and holds master's degrees in 3 related fields, one in nursing education, the other in health policy, and the third in health systems. That is after his bachelor's degree in health education. His career has told the path of the profession he studied, serving in different capacities. He was at the Accident and Emergency Unit of the then Federal Medical Center, Abakaliki. He also teaches and supervises students at the School of Nursing, Afikpo, and is currently the Deputy Director, Nursing at Alex Ekweme Federal University Teaching Hospital, Abakaliki, Ebonyi State. My guest is also a unionist and has held key positions such as State Chairman, National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, Nnachi, Ebonyi State. He also made inroads at the national level, serving as Financial Secretary of Nannm. He is a member, fellow of West African College of Nursing. On the spot is the President, National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, Michael Ekuma Nnachi. Nice to have you, sir.
It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, talking the nursing profession. In other countries, the Western countries, the East, it is considered a noble profession. People admire nurses. They appreciate their work. It's equally a well-paid profession. But here in Nigeria, it's as if it doesn't have the respect it desires. Is that so?
Yes, nursing is a noble profession. It's a caring profession. And as nurses, it takes a good heart to be a nurse, to be interested in nursing. And what is it all about? It's about caring for the totality of man, from birth to death. And it also implies prevention of ill health of any form, promotion of health, alleviation of suffering, and restoration of health. In fact, it cares for individuals, sick or well, in the performance of activities contributing to health or such a person's recovery to an independent level of independent health. It takes a lot to care for humanity. And for me, I love working as a nurse. But unfortunately, the way and manner the nurses are treated in Nigeria is nothing to write home about. And that has accounted for a lot of people leaving Nigeria for areas of greener pasture where they are recognized, well paid, given incentives and motivation, and even insured for their life, by extension, their families. Of course, there's a prospect, but the story is different here in Nigeria because the nurses actually undergoing a lot of stress that makes some people sometimes try to misrepresent the nurses Take, for instance, in a unit or ward where you have, let's say, 40 patients, and you have 2 or 3 nurses to work there. Considering the quality of nursing care, you will notice that to have 40 patients to 2, 3 nurses is something challenging. Whereas the World Health Organization has patient-nurse ratio as 1 nurse to 4 patients. But when you look at it from that side, it's a mirage because it's totally different from what we see here in Nigeria.
Okay. Okay. If I may ask, you just mentioned how important the nurses are providing that care. If I may ask again, why are they not accorded that respect? Why do you think that, why do you feel as a nurse yourself that you are not accorded that respect?
I think that our government is yet to understand the key role of nurses. They tend to politicize issues. Take, for instance, in any particular facility, it's supposed to be properly equipped, and also for the nurses to have necessary tools to work with. Now, regardless of the fact that those desired equipments are not there, the nurses always put in their best to ensure that the patients that come to them go back better than they came. And the issue of a waiting time, they do a lot to ensure that the patients do not stay too long when they come to the facility. But it's unfortunate because of issue of politics, not looking at the health status of the country, the expectation, all the demands put across by nurses are not given attention. And as a result of that, a lot of people are undergoing stresses. If you look at the remuneration or compensation for the nurses, like I said, it's nothing to write home about. In such a situation that if you look at today's economic realities, you will see that the money paid in the name of salary cannot afford anything. And that is why over this period we have been asking government to have an upward review of nurses' salary. In fact, we have a demand that the federal government should give all the nurses across board a very special salary structure that will at least reduce the thinking of leaving Nigeria for any area of greener pasture. All these things are unattended. We have asked for extension of service years of 60 to 65 years and the 35 to 40 years, whichever come first. All those things are the demand the nurses are making. Specifically, there are allowances due for the nurses. For over 15 or 20 years, none of them is addressed. The nurses, by the nature of their duties, are entitled to shift duty allowance. What the nurses are getting today as shift duty allowance is nothing to write home about. And we're asking government to have it upward reviewed. In nursing, we have different specialties. We have those that did anesthesia, who are always placed on call because of scarcity of nurses. Call duty allowance is also nothing to write home. Teaching allowance, nothing to write home.
Okay,
Today, we are asking about peculiarity allowance because of the nature of nurses' job that the nurses are suffering. Give the nurses peculiarity allowance of 70% of their consolidated basic. This at least will serve an ease way of.
I'm meant to understand that the peculiar allowance that I've started paying.
No, the one you heard about comes of 40%. Nurses are excluded. Nurses are excluded. And it's painful when we heard that because we have made presentations asking for...
Is it not because you have not been present enough? Because the doctors have pressed for this. So is it not because you have not pressed enough?
Looking at it, whether they're politicizing the issue because we have made demand. You know, let me say this. Most often you see that our government is interested on when you go on strike. But I want to tell you that if nurses go on strike for one day, the lives that will be lost will never be recovered. Any other group can go on strike. And if the work suffers for a day or two, when they resume, they will open the offices and clean the dust and whatever. But if nurses go on strike, within a day, 2 or 3, a lot of lives will be lost that cannot be recovered. So sometimes we consider that. But I must tell you that the government has taken the nurses for granted because of that. Like this issue of 40%. We just had a meeting. If nothing is done to address it and give us 70% of our consolidated basic, for the past 45 years, nurses have never been on strike. But we may be forced to go to that length. But I will not tell you we will go, but we will give the government opportunity to address the demand of
course,
nurses.
we will not want you to go on strike.
Because
of course.
I know the implication.
That should be the last option.
I know the
if not
implication
an option
of
at
strike.
all.
So that's why we always give it a second look. Because that patient could be anybody. It could be me, it could be my relation, it could be any other civil servant. It could be a politician. And we're looking at the life is precious. So all these factors are being misunderstood as a weakness of the nurses. Today, if you are looking at the objective of the Federal Ministry of Health, is it universal health coverage and sustainable development goals? This objective cannot be achieved without the nurses, because not only that they constitute over 60% of the workforce in the health sector, they occupy an integral part of the activities that surround the health sector. And looking at that, you see that the nurses have strategic role to play to maintain the health sector. Without the nurses, the health sector will collapse.
Okay, let's look at what you, the nurses themselves, are doing. You head Nnachi, that's the Nurses Union.
Yeah.
Now, I've had a lot of argument that the association that was established back in 1977 is to mediate between the nurses themselves, the public, and the government. But they have argument that officials of Nnachi don't really stand up for the nurses where they have issues, where nurses are sacked. They don't really go out there to speak for them, to stand. Your members don't really believe in the union themselves, whether this is what has happened in the past or whether on your administration. What are you doing to correct this? Because, like I say, within the nurses union itself, there are cracks.
Well, you cannot rule out personal interest on an issue. But I need to assure you that the nurses recognize the role of professional associations, specifically National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives. For the past 45 years it has been in existence. It has been responsible for the welfare of the nurses, advancements in nursing education and practice, in support of the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria, which is a regulatory body. And Nnachi is legally established to organize all the nurses that are registered by the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria. It's only a handful who do not see the usefulness, the benefit of the role of the professional association like Nnachi. Unfortunately, they benefit. You and I know that government cannot just voluntarily give you any benefit. You need to ask for it. You need to negotiate. You need to consult. You need to engage government to be able to get it. And of course, the leadership of the association from time to time write to government asking for these benefits, compensation and remuneration. And when we get it, everybody enjoys it. But to pay a token to sustain the organization, you see people saying, behaving as if they are not interested, but they are interested. So it is an association that actually the welfare and progress of the members, I mean nurses and midwives in Nigeria, depend. Because as an individual, there's nothing you can do on your own. Even when you are denied promotion, you cannot do anything to management. It may be punitive, may not be punitive, but it is the association that will say what is the problem, and you're able to establish that you actually desire to be promoted and you are not promoted, or you actually desire to be well paid, properly paid, and you are not.
It's okay.
So
it's okay.
They will intervene.
Okay. We'll still come back after the short break to discuss some of the effort you have done to improve the conditions of nurses in the country. Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, we'll go for a short break. Don't go away.
We set standards based on current broadcast realities while consolidating on...
Okay, before we went for that break, we were discussing about some of the little cracks in the nursing union, and then you were talking about some of the things you have done. Your area of specification, education is key.
I'm a nurse educator.
Yeah,
I teach in the school.
Yeah. Now, you have the privilege of now being the president of Nnachi. How much have you done to upgrade the capacity of nurses?
Thank you. As far back as 1981, the association has continued to struggle and agitate for repositioning the profession and then having proper placement for nurses. That was why last year, 2022, the Office of the Head of Service of the Federation was able to release an enhancement circular that properly places the nurses from grade level 10 to 17 to enable them reach their zenith. This was the struggle of the association, and it is to the benefit of every nurse in Nigeria, nurses and midwives in Nigeria. But unfortunately, we realized recently that up till now, some managements of facilities are yet to implement that. And it's expected that any circular from the Office of the Head of Service is expected to be respected and implemented as necessary. Only 1 or 2 states that have tried. Some have not even bothered. And these are the areas that the nurses normally become upset. That is in terms of repositioning the nurses and midwives, looking at the future. Now, the Nnachi, National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, work in collaboration with the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria, where we recently have a vibrant and dynamic registrar, Dr. Farouk. He's doing so much, and the Nnachi is working together collaboratively with the council to reposition the nursing profession in Nigeria. A lot of achievements have been recorded, both ways, from the council, from the association. Like today, we have a lot of professors in nursing, PhD holders in nursing. Many are in different universities teaching in such a way that anybody that could look at the nurses as they don't have this, they don't have that. There is no caliber of a professional nurse you cannot see. Some are politicians. Some are governors, deputy governors. But unfortunately, there are few. When it comes to policy issue, the nurses, because of the stake we have in the health, are supposed to be part of policy, decision-making, and implementation. All those things are lacking because of politics and some kind of marginalization. Positions, permanent secretaries. The nurses have the prerequisite. There is no position you can think of that you cannot get a nurse that is equal to that. And that's why I'm telling you, in various universities, I have many professors in nursing. PhD holders are numerous. Areas of specialty, they are there. But sometimes I find it difficult to know why the nurses are not given the expectation they desire.
Okay, let's talking about quality. This is one area that people have talked about issue of quacks a lot, especially in the remote area, rural areas. You just see people in healthcare centers as nurses. Some of them you don't even know their qualification. If we talk about qualification, what is the qualification for someone to be called a nurse?
Thank you. First of all, I will tell you that sometimes when people see some people on white, they will call the person a nurse. Whether in the hospital or in some private facilities, they say it's a nurse. Not everybody in white is a nurse. A nurse is a person that has actually undergone the education and training as organized by the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria, getting that as a professional practice. But then the minimum qualification as a nurse is first degree in nursing, Bachelor of Science. Then of course the RN that you see is a professional qualification, which for you to practice as a nurse, you must satisfy that professional condition organized by the Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria, which is the regulatory body. Then there are other post-basic programs which today are run as master's degree in nursing. Like I told you, of different specialties, over 19. In fact, every aspect of specialty in medicine, you have the nursing attached to that. Talk about cardiology, anesthesia, nephrology, ENT, nose and throat, even administration, the nurses are there. Any side of medical, surgical nursing, the nurses are there. Every branch, you see the nurse there.
Okay.
So,
okay. Every organization or union has that responsibility of cleaning its house of this mess of quackery. What have you done to clean that up?
Yeah, in terms of quackery, we have what is called State Nursing and Midwifery Council of Nigeria Committee in all the states in Nigeria. In that committee, we have the director, Minister of Health there. You have the Nnachi leaders, the chairman and secretary in that state. Then you have others co-opted from key positions who are also there. They monitor any form of behavioral conduct that is not of a nurse. Because as a profession, the nursing profession has professional nursing ethics, which is called Code of Ethics. And it guides the conduct and behavior of all the nurses, ensuring that any service delivered is of quality and standard as contained in the nursing training curriculum. Now for quackery, we monitor, and at any point we detect, we pick it up, and then we have disciplinary committee that we deal with such an individual. I'm aware that sometimes you see a private clinic having 1 or 2 persons wearing blue or white because they will take 5,000 naira, 10,000 naira. People out there will call them nurses, but they are not nurses. There's no professional nurse that you will see that you will not be able to identify that this is a professional nurse. But unfortunately, some people look at those that are wearing white as nurses. Those people constitute danger to the public because even to take care of any patient under their care, they wouldn't know what to do. And we don't take it kindly with anybody that plays with people's life by probably getting a uniform and giving to one girl or one boy to say the nurse is there. But the public have always misunderstood and then tried to misrepresent the nurses.
Okay, so it's okay. We are pressed for time. Thank you,
Thank you.
Michael Ekuma Nnachi, President, National Association of Nigerian Nurses and Midwives, for your time on the spot.
Thank you so much.
Okay.
I believe the viewers should be able to take 1 or 2 things from what I have said.
They have taken a lot.
The part of the government, a lot needs to be done for the nurses.
Yeah.
We actually desire it.
Okay.
Otherwise, the health sector will collapse.
It's all right.
Thank you.
To all the viewers, you have heard it all. Thank you for always being there. I'm Joseph Oten. See you next time on The Spot. Bye.
Thank you.